All right, let's bypass the slow intros and jump right into this explainer. Today, we're deconstructing 3 wildly viral summer horror animations. We're going to compare these highly sensationalized cinematic internet tales directly to the grim, real-world police reports that actually inspired them. It is a fascinating and honestly kind of unsettling look at how reality gets twisted for internet clicks.
We're throwing you right into the deep end with the starting point of our first story. Our narrator claims his seemingly awesome summer gig as an instructor at a local bungee jumping spot suddenly turned into an absolute nightmare, all because of a single slip-up with one coworker.
Picture this. It starts on a totally normal afternoon shift at an abandoned railway viaduct called Skeleton Bridge. The narrator introduces us to his creepy coworker, Ray. Now, according to the story, Ray is aggressively flirting with a beautiful jumper named Maria, and he's just completely distracted from the basic safety protocols.
And here is where the tale hits its dramatic climax. The narrator claims total innocence, shouting at Ray for forgetting the safety rope. According to the animation, Ray pushed Maria without the cord attached, framing our narrator and leaving him wrongly imprisoned while the real culprit just walked free.
The bungee bridge tragedy. Fact versus fiction. So notice the stark contrast here. The animated story isolates all of the blame onto one convenient villain. But when we look at the actual tragic death of 21-year-old Maria in Brazil, real-world police reports and online video showed a completely different scenario. The footage actually showed 2 men actively lifting her up above their shoulders and tossing her airplane-style off the bridge completely without a safety rope. And as the investigation unfolded, it turned out none of the men even remembered whose job it was to check the ropes. It wasn't some neat story of a hero and a villain, it was just gross, shared negligence. Ultimately, 6 people were questioned, and 3 instructors, not just one, were held in custody for her fatal 131-foot fall. Okay, keeping the pace up, let's drop right into the starting point of our second story. It's right after Game 5 of the NBA Finals. Our narrator is a drunk, lone Knicks fan wandering the unfamiliar streets of San Antonio, separated from his crowd and entirely lost.
The tension totally spikes here. This supposedly isolated fan is suddenly cornered by a massive, enraged Spurs fan. According to the animation, she pulls a knife on him, forces him to strip down completely on the ground, and steals every single piece of his Knicks gear in this humiliating ordeal.
The San Antonio robbery. Fact versus fiction. Look at how the animation totally manipulated the isolation trope to amp up the horror. They'd present one lone, helpless victim ambushed by this cartoonishly villainous woman. But in reality, the June 14th arrest warrant for 30-year-old Absid Michelle Rodriguez details a group ambush. A 31-year-old man and a 31-year-old woman were assaulted by Rodriguez along with 3 other unidentified suspects. It wasn't a one-on-one showdown. And rather than just wandering off naked and defeated in the dark like the animated tale suggests, the real victims took incredibly quick, decisive action. They actually managed to photograph the suspect's getaway vehicle and get identifying information. That led directly to a photo lineup where Rodriguez was picked out and officially charged with aggravated robbery.
Brace yourselves, guys, because we are launching into our final and absolute darkest story. It begins with this deeply disturbing quote, "I want to eat Mom." It's delivered over a really tense family dinner regarding some supposedly fishy-tasting salmon.
So, following a physical fight at the dinner table with his incredibly creepy, pest-killing son, the animated father flees the house to a local bar. He downs 3 pints to cool off, only to return past midnight to a house that is spotless and just eerily, terrifyingly quiet. This whole sequence is designed to keep you on the absolute edge of your seat. From the argument to the bar, to returning to the empty bedrooms, the suspense builds step by step, until the father finally steps into the garage, flips the light switch, and discovers his son actively eating pieces of his deceased wife.
The animation hits its absolute horrifying peak right here with this line, right before the father clubs the unresisting boy with a billy club and calls the police. It's incredibly cinematic, right? But how much of this nightmare actually happened?
The Cannibal Son. Fact versus fiction. All right, let's step out of the cinematic exaggeration for a second. While that chilling quote about the devil was actually spoken word for word by 26-year-old Eric Leaf Jordal in Minnesota back in January 2020, the timeline of events was heavily manipulated for dramatic effect. 62-year-old Rosalie Rose Johnson wasn't killed after a dinner fight while the husband was at a bar. The brutal reality is she was attacked late at night in her own bedroom with a butcher knife after simply telling her son to go back to bed. And the father? He didn't discover the gruesome scene until the next morning.
Bringing it back to reality and the actual legal consequences, Jordahl was found guilty and faces an automatic life sentence without parole. However, there is a pending hearing for a mental illness defense that could alter his final placement, which means he could potentially be sent to a psychiatric facility rather than a standard prison. So, to wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a provocative question. As we consume these thrilling, super fast-paced animated stories, what does it actually say about us that our entertainment is built directly on top of genuine, real-world suffering? It's definitely something to chew on the next time you click on a terrifying true tale. Thanks for diving into the facts with me, and as always, never stop questioning the stories you see online.